Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy.
Hi, and I'm Carla.
And together we are the
EFFing
Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It.
Hello, guys. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Monday Madres. Monday motivation. Give me some more, Carla. What else? What else we got?
Well, I was just thinking about that. I was like, we need to start thinking of like some other things because
Okay, so Monday mood. Moody Monday.
I was thinking Moody Monday. I'm like, Mondays have been, Moody Mondays.
Yeah. So like a case of the Mondays, manic Mondays.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something.
Well, it's the Eff It Madres Mondays.
Yes.
We are two Latinas. I am Romy. This is Carla. And we are the Eff It Madres. Two madres that had an Eff It moment and said, fuck it, Eff it. We are going to start a podcast. We're going to go to coaching school. We want to create a space for women and moms to really just like say Eff it and have these big kind of life-changing moments that, they are scared or afraid or wanted to have or failed at having or in the midst of having that really changed their lives. And stories matter. And so by sharing these moments, we inspire and help others through theirs. And we are always motivated and taking away so much from these women. So if anything, it's helping us, Carla.
I know. I was just going to say selfishly, this has been really helping us work through our things.
We really enjoyed it. So
oh yeah.
So we hope you do too.
Yeah.
Who do we have on today, Carla?
So today is a special guest. This is someone that I went to hair school with over a decade ago. Her name is Ariel. She is a very successful colorist in actually she was in LA, but I'm not sure exactly where she's located now. She's kind of like, she travels a bunch of places to do hair. She's doing very well, always super talented. Even she was in my class. Even then,
I remember you in school too. I remember you in hair school.
Yeah. And she was like, immediately I was like, wow, this girl's really talented. She's absolutely stunning. She has such a beautiful little daughter who's so sweet. And her Eff It moment, very briefly, is she told me that her Eff It moment was leaving her abusive ex-husband, which, it can be a touchy subject, but if she's willing to share that with us, then we are here to listen and support. And I'm sure this story will resonate with many, many, many people. Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and bring her in just a second.
Okay.
All right, everyone, we have Ariel here.
Hello.
So I was just telling people that like I went to school with you. We were in the same class, and that immediately we knew, like right off the bat, like, wow, that girl's really good.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I was telling my boyfriend because he was asking about the podcast. I was like, me and Carla were like the two, like, I don't know, top really good.
Yes. And gosh, how different we both were, like in every way.
Yes.
And now we're all moms, which is crazy.
I remember Carla in school. I remember her being in school with you guys, and we had our little faux hawks, and she was just starting her clientele. And it's so cool that you guys are still like in each other's lives because it was so long ago, and then to have your guys' careers take off. You know,
it's crazy.
Well, Ariel is definitely killing it. But anyway, I don't want to take too much time here because we are moms and we're busy. So, yes. All right, Ariel. So the first question we have for you is, when did you decide to just Eff it and why?
I think my biggest Eff it moment was when I think Shiloh was 8 months old. I was living in Europe. I'd moved to Europe, and I was with my ex-husband who had increasingly gotten more physically abusive. And in that moment, I think when you're building with the person you think you're so in love with, to like stop it and throw it in the trash was really difficult for me. So I think my biggest Eff it moment was as a mom. And I think you can't explain like the feeling of just like getting strong and like having to do something unless you're that parent feeling of just like, I don't know, that strength. hard
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
It's a strength that like you can't explain. Like once you become like that mama bear and you know you have to make decisions. I want to be really clear too, and like Shiloh, right, is your
Daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
your daughter with okay, is your daughter with your with this person in your
No,
life, right? What did you guys share or
no,
no?
no, no.
Okay.
So my boyfriend now, who's Shiloh's, I mean, he stepdad. She calls him
Yeah.
that. Her dad, her biological dad, is not in the picture at all. I have full
Okay.
custody. Um, but
Oh.
my effort moment was definitely leaving that relationship.
That's
And
okay.
for me, it
Yeah.
was solely because, and I think about if I didn't have Shiloh, I don't know if I would have the strength to do that. I think I honestly might still be in it, suffering. But yeah, that was my biggest moment of like, all right, let's fucking get it together, and we're gonna put on our big girl pants and get the hell out of here for her safety and my safety. So
And I mean, not only are you making such a massive decision that you're saying if you hadn't had Shiloh, you might not have done, but you're also doing this in Europe where you're probably away from all your family,
it was,
right?
I got myself in the craziest situation. I mean, for me, that time, I mean, leaving that situation felt like a nightmare, and it was very scary. But yeah, being in Europe, I had no one. I mean, his family was there. They didn't speak English, and obviously, like, didn't believe what I was saying. So yeah, it was crazy.
So you were out there all by yourself, leaving the father of your child that was abusive to you in a country where you really had no one but you and your
Yeah,
daughter?
we had to hide in an Airbnb for 2 months. Yeah,
Wow.
because
Really?
so he had stolen her passport. And so there's also just so many. I had lawyers there, and like, I mean, the court system dealing with me trying to get back to America, and the Prague court, like, it's all very confusing. But I couldn't get in trouble for kidnapping. I couldn't just hop on a plane and go. So it was like,
Right.
yeah. So I
So you had to legally work it out,
yeah,
right? You had to legally
get
make this.
her an American passport because at the time she was 8 months, so I just hadn't done that yet. So, and then he took her
Yeah.
European passport from my purse because he knew that I was gonna try to go away. So yeah, it was like in the U.S. embassy. You have to have two signatures to get a passport, mom and dad. So I had to surpass his signature. Luckily, I was in there like every day, and it was only women working at the embassy, which was nice. And of course, they saw me a mess, so like,
Yeah.
let's work
Right.
this out. So luckily, the domestic violence, I was able to get her passport and get the hell out of there. But it took 2 months.
Wow. Oh my God.
So what you did about this, because that goes into like the next question. So you were in this abusive relationship. First of all, thank you for sharing this with us. I want to just say that like it's really important that us as moms do share these stories. I mean, that's why we have this space, because if anyone is listening, like they're not alone. And we always want to make sure that like us as a community of women and mothers are like, we are badass. We can do big
Yeah.
things. And so you are somebody that did something really huge, for you and your daughter. And that's what this is about. These moments that are just fucking life changing, And I fully connect with the fact that like, I don't know if I'd do a lot of things. I've said that on here if I wasn't a mom. Like,
Oh, I
she forces me to do things for myself that I don't think I ever would have fucking done. And I'm so grateful for
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
For like,
those are the blessings as
this
motherhood.
girl cannot see this. She,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if I waited any
Yes.
longer, who knows? So yeah,
So then you decided to get a passport, fucking leave him. This is your big effort moment, and get you and your daughter back to the States.
yes,
And I'm sure, like, did you even have like a setup to come back to, or
Yeah.
not
Oh,
really?
yeah.
Or
my dad's basement in Kentucky. It was
wow.
the lowest. It was low. It felt very low. I think for a couple. I mean, I had to just get custody of her, but I mean, to be in my dad's basement with a little baby felt very low. I was like proud of myself,
Wow.
but just I also hadn't eaten for 2 months, so like little. I was just weak. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I could only
but
imagine.
still doing what you needed to do for your kids. So despite like how emotionally fragile you probably were and physically fragile, right? Like from the stress of
Yeah.
all this, like, and then getting to those low points. I mean, those, who was the woman who was saying like those bottoms, right, Carla? Remember they were like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, I
those
forget. It
bottoms.
was a good one. Those
It was a good quote, but it was like those bottoms are what make
Yeah.
us. It's
yeah.
those bottoms that like when we can get ourselves out of those, and trust me, like I have gotten myself out of some fucking bottoms, you know, like that's what makes us stronger. And your daughter is always going to know at least one day that like you fucking
Yeah.
did that
Yeah, totally.
for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. And in a way, I'm not saying that it was a good thing that it happened at all, but like she was young enough
Yeah.
still to where hopefully, like, she doesn't really remember
Yeah.
that stuff.
I guess me and Bradley had this conversation of like, I don't know, there's weird moments where you're like, do you remember any of that? But yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, 8 months. I'm hope it did feel like I was getting out right at a good time.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I always say is like I want my daughter to like what our girls see, you know, is what they're going to accept or what they, because it's what I did, you know. I saw a certain type of love and then I went out into my life thinking that that was the love that I was supposed to receive, which was totally fucked up. So I'm super hyper aware of like what my daughter sees because that's then what they go to like expect to be love. And so it's like we always talk about it on the space, Ariel, that like we're trying to like stop these like cycles.
Think about my ex-husband. And I mean, I guess when you've been with certain people, you start to study behavior, like all that stuff. I actually got really interested in. I mean, it was I think, man, I wish life was a little easier on me in that relationship. But damn, I like had to learn these lessons about these people existing. But it is linked. It is all linked in this weird way of like I think of who my
Yes.
father was and kept attracting this person over and over and over again. It was so frustrating. And Simon was just like the epitome of the work, man. Yeah, but you're not aware until you're aware, and then once you're aware, it's like actually such a blessing, and your whole life changes. So
I relate to you so much, and I'm like currently in therapy, and like the biggest thing I've come back to is like my dad issues as well. And it's like I had no idea. And then I also had a relationship that was really hard. But it changes you forever. And it does make you more aware of things that like you would never know. It's crazy.
You were going through a lot of shit. You were going through the ringer. Your emotions were like going back and forth. But like in that moment that you decided to say F it, like what was running through your mind emotionally? What were you feeling?
mm, man, looking back, I wasn't I everything was very shocking. I mean, my situation was so strange. I felt I don't know if it was that strength of like, hey, we just got to do this. This is really emotionally not what I don't want to do because I was very comfortable and okay with ignoring what was going on. But I think I went into almost this kind of trance. That sounds weird, but like just like I wasn't feeling much. I was just trying to get through it. I don't know if there was much emotion going on other than like trying to do all the things I need to do to get us in a safe situation.
So you were basically in go mode. You didn't really have time to process what was going. You just needed to like,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I need to do. We need to get
Yeah.
out. And it probably didn't hit you till you got home
Yes.
to your dad's basement where it kind of just was like, oh
Yes.
fuck.
And then when I got back to that, once we were safe and better, then it was like processing, like, okay, hey, we're starting over. I also like had run out of money and it was just like, all right, what we're starting over. I'm in my father's basement. So yeah, it was that and also just healing from I mean that I think all my relationships before that I weren't very serious. That this was my first very serious thing. So also just like dealing with the heartbreak of like losing my person who I thought was my person. Um but coming out of that effort moment when I finally paid off those bills and like got full custody of her, the feeling of being in New York and like, yeah, I made like a whole new group of friends. My best friend was there, and like I was getting busy at work. Like there was like this incredible high of like, I remember he had deleted his Instagram after we had uh, broken up because he was abusive to other people. There was a whole life. He had an ex-wife before me that he was abusive to. The messages from women, I stopped reading them. There were so many women reaching out to me like he was abusive to me. He threw me off a balcony, like all this crazy stuff. Yeah, he has a whole thing. A whole thing. So he had deleted his Instagram when we broke up because I think a lot of women were patiently watching our relationship. And I had warnings when we first started. I was ignoring many red flags with my ex-husband. I was warned, but I proceeded anyways. Always listen to warnings.
Yeah.
Of
It's
course.
crazy the things.
You don't learn until you go through it yourself, though.
Yeah. So he disappeared. He reappeared later on when I was already in New York and doing really well, back on my feet. And it was, I mean, not to like throw, but he's just like kind of a loser now. Like he's still in ghetto Prague, like doing the same thing to women. Hopefully, like, I hope one day something happens that he's not going to cause anyone that kind of pain that I went through. But it was a moment of like, I'm back on my, there's that moment really did the power I feel now, even though it was like a year of like emotional, it was really hard, but there has been the moment of like, oh, I do feel very strong.
I mean, you were able to rebuild your life, right? Like essentially, like you got to New York. It sounds like so. Just like anyone listening, like you removed yourself. You're at the bottom of your dad's basement with nothing, running out of
Yeah.
money, in fight or flight mode, almost, right? Not able to feel it because if you do feel it, you can't keep pushing.
Yeah.
You'll break at that point. You'll break in emotion. So you're just like pushing through it, and then you have been able to rebuild yourself, right? Your career, your life,
Yeah.
like.
I mean, she's killing it. She's killing it.
That's what Carla said. Like you're killing it, and like
You're fucking, and you rebuilt yourself in New York. You know how hard it is to like build up in one of the hardest cities?
first of all, you're in New York doing hair and you're like killing it. I mean, it is so important that women listening, like if you are in an abusive relationship, and I say this because I've been in them, like if you are in an abusive relationship, like listen to her and know it may take you being at someone's basement
Yeah.
and it may take you losing every dollar and it may take you getting to that place. You can rebuild. We will rebuild, like you can get your stuff out.
The pain of that kind of like an abusive relationship, like the highs and lows, like the deep lows, like the crying, like being out of that, I like don't even know how I was enduring that. It's crazy. Like for women out there listening, like stepping away, getting out, and like just putting on your big girl pants, getting the hell out of that. Like the peace. I would never give that up ever again.
No.
Like I just can't believe I put my mind and body through that.
I've had those moments, and I'm sure you did too. And I've read a lot about it and looked up a lot about it after being in something like that. And I'm like, you never think it's gonna be you. You never think you're gonna end up. You're strong, or I'm a badass. I'm fucking power. Like I'm never gonna be that girl. Like how could anyone be that girl? And then you're sitting there and you're like, the
It's
fuck just
true.
happened?
Yes.
Like how the fuck did I become that girl?
Yeah.
Like I'm a badass. Like don't think that like it can't happen. It
Yeah.
can, and
No,
and
100%.
it can
I
happen.
felt exactly the same way.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. I remember it was weird. All of a sudden, you're just in it, and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he start out in the beginning being that way, or did it just start to show up?
the moment I met him, the moment I left him, he had punched me in the face. That was the first time he had ever physically hit me, and I remember that having that thought. I looked at, I was like in the situation. I was like, I'm just not this woman.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
build up to that moment. And then all of a sudden it got very scary, but it was the thing about Simon, it was every most of the days were fantastic, like the best.
Yeah.
Really.
The best it can be. Yeah.
And then it was just like once a month he'd like throw a glass, or like,
Mhm.
like it was physical, like around me, but never to me. And he would psychologically like kind of trip me out. Like he would like smash his phone and like I don't know, it was just like little things. But I was like, okay, everyone gets mad once in a while. Like I can deal.
Right. You start making excuses.
Then he had Shiloh. He stopped working. I was supporting us. He would barely help with Shiloh at all. And so I got to a point where, and it's like then the throwing glasses and like all these things started picking up. Like it was just getting tense. And I knew in my heart, I was like, he's gonna hit me. And I remember calling my dad. He's like, he's gonna hit you. He's gonna hit you. And I'm like in Europe, and I remember we hadn't gotten married yet. I married him and like quickly left him after. He's like, don't marry him. And I was like,
Yeah.
I have to. I just felt like I just poured. I felt like I just lost my identity at all. I was just obsessed with this man, and like it's just I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you guys have, like he's definitely like narcissistic personality disorder. It's like they strip victims of their whole self. And I just
It's very common that I know, like you do lose
yeah
yourself completely in those relationships and in them. And it's like I don't know for you, but like when you got yourself back, it's like looking at like seeing yourself again for the
yeah.
first time. Like you lose yourself, and it's like, oh my god, like I'm in
Well,
there.
now
Like
like being with someone who's really healthy.
yeah.
It's so weird. It's so. I mean, he's been so patient with like I'm like the triggers and like yeah, like what do I like to do? Like who am I? Like I just lost all that.
Mhm. Yes.
Go go out, like do all the things you want to do. Like I'm like I don't even know, you know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got stripped of that. So yeah, but yeah,
So my next question would be to you with all of this, and it's like as you were saying, like you're finding yourself again, you're finding a partner that like loves you and like allows that space for you and like healthy, right? And like that's always just like once you're in something healthy after being in something so toxic, you can see it much more clear. Like much more clear. What was so toxic, but what did it do for you and your family, for you and your daughter? What did it do by fucking leaving him?
well, for Shiloh, it just brought health and I think peace for both of us. To have peace is like I think in life really number one. Once you find that peace, it's like you'll never give it up. Even if I end up alone forever, like I would find peace in my own on my own. Luckily, I can have peace with my partner now, but for Shiloh, I mean, life hasn't been perfect, but to just have like a normal I don't know, like I'm sure I don't know, everyone has trauma, but like I would love to just raise Shiloh with the least trauma, like just normal.
Yeah.
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 I think that's all our goal.
Yeah, like to give her the healthiest life I possibly can. I mean, we've had a weird couple 4 years, and she's a quirky little kid, but like at least we're healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's safe and she gets to see her mom be like treated well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I even like it's funny, I think after we had broken up, just to see, I mean, I've failed miserably at her not seeing me cry. Like I've cried so much in front of that poor girl, but like
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? It's important that our girls see that. It's important that they know it's okay to fucking cry. It's okay to feel sad and broken, because if we don't let them see that, then like they grow up holding that in, you know?
Yeah, and you don't want that, trust me.
Yeah, I think Carla.
You don't want that.
she's seeing me heal. So I think yeah, it's exciting. It's great. We're both doing really well. Oh,
Aw, I'm so happy to hear that.
thank you.
I'm so happy. My God, what a really hard experience. But you definitely you look happier. You look
Thank
peaceful. Like just I've obviously been following you forever, and like I've seen a change even like in the things that you post. Like you just seem happy, and you're doing it. So very proud of you, Ariel.
thank you.
Yeah. So now, okay, now that you're out of that, Do you still have any fears that come up for you or anything like that? And the second leg to that question is, how do you stay moving forward in the effort momentum and not letting those fears bring you down?
I guess I've had fears with Simon. It's funny, when I was in my dad's basement, I was like paranoid that he was gonna come kill me. I would walk around the house at night
Oh,
because there it got scary. There, I mean, he punched me, but he did much more than that. And I was like, I really did feel like he was gonna kill me or be in my closet. I don't have those
oh,
fears anymore as badly, but I guess I do have fear sometimes of. I mean, when you have someone's child, like he's had abusive victims, but I'm like the one person who has his kid. So I guess there's a fear of him trying to mess with us. I mean, now that like I have a boyfriend who's, can provide that like a little bit of safety with that kind of fear is nice, like to know there's a man in the house. But that's been my only fear, really, is like hoping that, he leaves us alone. So
right.
Mhm.
And how do you keep moving forward? What pushes you?
to move forward, I guess because I deserve I didn't
Yes.
deserve that, but I think I learned those lessons. But I just deserve to have a great life, you know?
Ariel,
There you
I
go.
literally said these words because I can relate so much with you, but like I literally said that this week to somebody. I was like, I deserve this.
Yeah.
Like just the happiness and the peace. But like as women and moms, like to get to that point where you believe that you believe that you deserve like peace, like truly, not like how we all say it, like, oh, I'm just like, but to really look at yourself and be like, I deserve this life that I have
Yeah.
and to be loved and to have peace. Like that's a big
Yeah.
moment.
And I think that's also what attracts, you attract certain things. And like before, I didn't feel that way. It was like, you know, which makes sense of why I was as why we're attracting these bad things. So
Mhm.
yeah, even my boyfriend's like, I'm like, you're so good to me. He's like, yes, you deserve it. It's like literally bare minimum. And I'm like, yeah, it is. I deserve
Oh,
that. I do. Oh yeah,
yeah.
it is life changing once you start viewing life that way. I mean,
Don't you think once you start having those moments, we say this on here a lot, Carla, like once you start saying fuck it gets easier to keep saying fuck it. And more things start coming up in your life and you're like, fuck it, I can do hard things. Fuck it. I can do like cuz you get into the momentum of like I can fucking do this
Yeah.
shit.
And I fucking deserve it.
Yeah, and I fucking deserve it.
Yeah.
Like it creates it going. Again, I'm like so grateful that you are sharing this. Like I know this is like a can be a special, private, vulnerable place. And so I just thank you. Thank you for coming on here with us and sharing this. Because more really honest, raw stories of these, like this is what helps women. And that's really just like what we want to do is we want to create a space that like us moms can fucking hear
yeah,
these stories. And so thank you. The last question then would be to anyone listening, what advice would you give a mom right now that is going through this? Like what would you tell her?
there's always a way out. I think I can understand different situations, but I think when it comes to like being with an abusive partner, I remember when it happened, I would randomly talk about it on my Instagram. So many women would reach out where they're like, I have a kid, and like we're living in like a poor country, and I have, oh, I think getting out of those situations, it may not ever make sense, but I think life will guide you and through and out. There's always a way out. You may have to suffer for the moment, but like staying in those situations, you're never fully trapped. I think number one, like, and also just like putting on your, like, look at your child at the end of the day, like that child, no child deserves to be in that situation. At the end of the day, it is your responsibility as a mother. And I think that was huge for me, is like, it, shame on me if I allow my kid to see this. So there is a way out, I think, no matter what the situation is. So I guess that's my advice, is get out.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you for sending that message to anyone listening. Ariel, is there anywhere that people can follow you for your work, your, anything you're working on, or people to reach
Yeah.
out to you? Is that something you're open to? Not, it doesn't matter, but please share anything.
I mean, I'm obviously a hair colorist, so I have my work page and my personal page.
Yeah.
One is Ariel Hauk, ARELHAUCK _ and then my hair styling page is Ariel _HAUCK. So you can
Don't worry, we'll put it up here so
Yeah, we're
that
going to
people
put it
can.
up. Yeah. But anyone
Yeah.
listening, yeah.
actually really love messages or any, I've had people tell me their whole story or just, anything, and I'll always respond. I enjoy talking about stuff like this. So yeah, anyone can message me.
Oh,
Awesome.
that's great to know.
I know. That's so awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. Thank you so much. And I'm so proud of you. Like, you have blossomed into this such incredible human being, so successful, so powerful. And I love seeing pictures of you with your daughter and like all your little videos and
Thank
stuff.
you.
It's so great. Yeah.
Yeah, you're such a light. You're just like this beautiful
Yeah.
light. You're
Thank
so beautiful and like glowy and light. I'm like, your energy is you feel like you're in such a peaceful space. So
Yeah.
that's what comes across. And I'm just meeting you for the first time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. This is where we're going to say,
Just
F
F
it.
it.